Welcome to Just Energy Radio with your host, naturopath and medical intuitive, Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theory that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swinging of a pendulum to the waves of the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is when we take everything in our universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita Louise on a journey through time and space where past, present, and future collide. Today, what you believe may be called into question. What we want to know is, who made up the rules? Be brave and step outside the box. We are about to turn our world upside down and venture into the unknown. Hold on. We are departing our own beliefs and entering alternative realms. Enjoy the possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. So even though the show did say that we were going to have Robert Bouval on the show, we had some last-minute issues, and he will not be able to join us. But instead, we're going to be having a very, very good friend and excellent medium on the show, John Cappella, who's going to be joining us for the first half hour of the show. And it'll be great. And in the second hour, we're going to be speaking to, or the second hour and a half, we're going to be speaking to Anthony Sanchez about his book, The UFO Highway. Oh, my God, freaking interesting stuff. Well, I probably shouldn't say freaking on the air, but I guess I didn't say anything worse than that. So anyway, Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find information about getting a medical intuition evaluation, clairvoyant, a.k.a. psychic reading, or get energy work done. That site also has lists of herbs and supplements that you can take to help you in your health. As well, it is jam-packed with articles and information for you and bringing health, healing, and wholeness into your life. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's AppliedEnergeticsInstitute.com. And just a couple of local announcements. And I'm trying to put these in date order here. On February 4th and 5th at Messages of Joy in the Dallas area, Sam Osminagosh, who is the Bosnian Pyramid guy who we've had on the show, will be doing presentations about the Bosnian Pyramid. So if you're in the area, please do go check it out. Another guest that we've had on the show before is Dimitri Morales and Barbara Martin, and they're going to be in the Dallas area, and I think it's March 3rd. So if you're interested in their work, they came on the show and talked about reincarnation. They have a new program. I'm not quite sure all the details. I'm waiting to get that in, but please do check that out. Also, the Sensations Holistic Fair is going to be happening on February 11th, and I will be doing readings there all day long. So come check it out. Get a reading. Woo! What could be better than that? So let me tell you a little bit about John and get him on the air. John Cappella, actually, let me bring his bio up here. John Cappella has been using his intuitive abilities since at least 1992, and his work has been I don't know. It's interesting because he's an active Christian, but then he deals with things like death, dying, and spirits, which I think for some people is, kind of goes over the line. But he uses his intuitive abilities to enhance his faith as well as the faith of other people to let them know that there is something on the other side and that there is something that we could call heaven. So please welcome to Just Energy Radio, John Cappella. Hey, John, how's it going?
Fine, how are you?
I'm good. I'm better now. How's that?
Well, I'm glad I was available. I've been editing my book, and it's It's amazing. The area I'm working in right now is just the area you're talking about. You were talking about it. Yes.
Well, why don't we have, this is only a half-hour segment, so, it's been a while since we've talked, and I have been seeing, a lot of postings online of things that you've been up to and, some new groups that you've been forming, and it just seems like you've been expanding your base from just doing readings and mediumship work to kind of going into a number of other areas and, I don't want to say disciplines, but other areas. So what have you been doing? What's up with John these days?
Well, I have been expanding my base a little bit. I've been just talking a little bit about dreams, and I have a meetup group that I try to bring in speakers like you to kind of expand awareness about metaphysics and trying to take some of the mystery out of the work away from it, so that people will be more find it to be more accepting. And you mentioned the fact that I'm a Christian, and yes, I am. And my book that's going to be coming out discusses some of the mixed signals that you get from Christianity, and about how Christianity believes in angels and believes in communicating with God, and we always talk about prayer, and we talk about hearing the voice of God. And God is, of course, a spirit, and trying to reconcile the two between using your psychic abilities and your mediumship, and trying to make them more acceptable to people, and take the fear out of it, because it's important that people understand that we are spiritual beings, and that it's only natural for us to have the ability to communicate with the other dimension of another dimension where people have crossed over. So I feel like it's important work, and I feel like we're getting ready to make some major breakthroughs with people accepting psychic ability and understanding that there's nothing evil or nothing sinister about it.
And how, we're both from the Texas area, and there is a very strong Christian component here, and I know that that's one of the areas that you really reach out to because of your background, and I would assume that you kind of speak their language. And how well have you been received? How well have you been received?
Well, it depends on the person, of course, and it depends on where they're at with their own development. A lot of times it takes an event in someone's life to make them look at life and look at spirituality from a different perspective. Other people are just curious, and they're just trying to say, well, how can we believe this and not this? And I try to bridge those gaps. And one way to bridge those gaps is to talk about philosophy as well, because we talk about how we're in the field of metaphysics. Well, the metaphysics comes from philosophy, and metaphysics is the study of being beyond the physical. And the person that started that, of course, was Aristotle. And so you have to try to say, well, how does Aristotle work with psychic ability? Because Aristotle wasn't thinking about psychic ability when he was talking about metaphysics. He was talking about trying to prove the existence of God. He was trying to prove the existence of different things beyond us that we felt were there. Or he was trying to prove that we had an afterlife, but in intellectual terms. But he wasn't talking about psychic ability. What psychic ability does is it's the vehicle that helps prove that metaphysics exists. It's the empirical information that we get, as empirical as it can get, from using our psychic abilities, and it validates that spirit exists beyond our physical form. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. But you're talking kind of from a mediumistic point of view as opposed to someone doing tarot readings or something like that, that there's something beyond?
Well, even with tarot, you are working with existence beyond the physical because you're dealing with energy. The difference between psychic ability and mediumship, from my perspective, is that psychic ability deals with energy around a particular person or a client. Mediumship is sensing the presence of another entity around a person. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you see energy around a person, that energy exists. And because that energy exists beyond the physical presence of a person, that proves that metaphysics is valid. That proves that there is existence beyond the physical. You see, even though it's energy doesn't have to be a spirit. You can see events around a person, but events exist because they have an essence. They have an essence of their own, because you can see how different events evolve in people's lives, and by sensing that with your psychic abilities, you prove that there is existence beyond the physical.
Got it now.
Okay. You have to have an intellectual argument from my perspective about what psychic ability does, and that's what I'm trying to demonstrate to people. And once you are able to make that, if you want to call it a leap, then you can be comfortable with your psychic abilities, and you can be comfortable working with your extended senses. And that's another thing that I talk about in my upcoming book.
And to me, people go, well, that's what you believe, and it's not even a belief. And it was never a belief, and it's not a belief. I mean, do you think that psychic abilities is a belief, and the things that you experience is a belief, or do you see it more as a fact of life, a fact of our existence here on the planet?
Absolutely. Well, once again, you're going to have skeptics that will come out and say, "Oh, well, that's not psychic ability," but it involves what you're willing to, if you're willing to expand your belief system. And there is a range of psychic ability that we all have, and there's a frequency that we all have, and it all comes from our soul. And if you don't believe that there's an afterlife, or you don't believe that a hunch or a first impression is energy beyond the physical, well, then I can't demonstrate to you that psychic ability works or has any validity at all. But if you give me the chance to talk to you about whether or not you've ever had a gut feeling, or you've ever had an idea just drop into your head that was original, then you're talking about psychic ability from my perspective. And we all have different perspectives, but I believe that if you are willing to accept the fact that there's that things happen that are beyond our control, and we can sometimes do have premonitions, and we sometimes do have prophetic dreams, and we do sometimes have things like deja vu, then I identify those things as psychic ability. And for me, there's no question that it exists.
How much do you think is issues around vocabulary?
Well, that's exactly correct, and that's part of the dilemma that religion has, because it's okay to have a vision, but it's not okay to be clairvoyant. It's okay to be intuitive, but it's not okay to be psychic. You see, so there is a language barrier that we seem to have to overcome when it comes to talking about psychic ability.
I remember I was doing my internship for my naturopath degree, and I was working for this one doctor, and this woman came in, and her and this other client were going to this huge event, I think in Washington, D.C., that was being held by this woman who had visions of the Mother Mary. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, so it's okay if you see Mary, but if you see Aunt Sally, not so good.
Well, that's the difficulty, because religion often tells us that if you hear something or you have a visitation from a spirit that is not a religious figure or an angel, then they're evil. And from my perspective, the way that you discern whether or not a spirit is good or evil is how you feel around them. If you're just talking to your mother or your Aunt Sally or someone like that, those people certainly weren't evil, or at least they hopefully weren't, especially if they're one of the great people of your life, or people that helped move you to the person that you are in your life today. If you feel that you're hearing, or you just know that their presence is around you, then you probably have a sense of security or a sense of peace around them. Generally, if you're dealing with a spirit that is not a spirit that is has your intentions involved, you're going to know it. You're going to have a feeling of them being cold, or them being unfeeling, or you might be unsettled around their presence. And that, by the way, is a form of mediumship from my perspective. So when you have a paranormal experience with a spirit, that is a form of mediumship, because it is a form of sensing a spirit that is outside of your present energy, you see.
So you don't have to talk to them or communicate with them. You could just feel their presence, and you would classify that as a different asset, or a different. I can't even form words today. A different perspective of having a medium experience.
Yes, because it involves a presence which is beyond your energy, your soul's energy, and sensing that is a form of mediumship. Mediumship, like I say, is different than psychic ability, because the mediumship does involve the other entity, and psychic ability involves the energy which is specific to you or specific to a particular client. Let's say a particular client wants to know if this job that they want to take is going to be good for them. Well, if you're sensing that there's good energy around that new particular job, well, then that's a psychic feeling that you're getting that is around that particular person. Whereas if you sense that their Aunt Sally is there, and their Aunt Sally is trying to communicate something which relates to their relationship together, then that is a form of mediumship.
See, that's the first time someone's ever talked about mediumship in a sense of there's me and there's you, and I really like your definition, John. I really like your definition, because it kind of puts a different framework on it. Because most people, when they think of mediums, they think, these spooky dead people are coming around, and there's
I say living challenged.
It took me a second there to get what you were actually saying. But I like your separation of someone that's using their psychic ability. They're talking about the individual in front of them versus they're talking about a third party. Let me ask a question, because in a lot of the sessions I do, when we're just talking about life stuff, I get a lot of relationship questions. I'm sure you get a lot of relationship questions, and they're not living challenged. They're still around and breathing. So how would you differentiate that?
When you pick up the energy of another person that is in the living, that's living, well, that is, once again, that's energy that is around them. Those people are in the energy field of your client, okay? and you're getting a feeling from that particular person. You're getting that psychic information from them. And if someone is in the living, it can be since you're sensing them as an entity, you are sensing the presence of another person. So if you want to call that a sense of mediumship, you can, because it's another entity. Okay, it's another person's soul. Okay, and you have to understand too that just because we are in a physical form and in one place, it doesn't mean that our energy is stationary or our energy is just in one place, because our soul's energy is timeless, and it doesn't have the same sense of placement as we do from our physical form. So someone's soul's energy can be influencing you as long as even if they're in the present, so in the living. So if someone is asking about their boyfriend, you don't want to just cut them off and say, well, they're not dead, or they're not without a body. But the way that you differentiate a person that's in the living versus someone that is in spirit is by the type of energy that they're sending you. A person that is in the living resonates a higher energy than someone that is in spirit. Okay? So there are different textures of energy. There are different levels of energy that you feel when you're sensing the presence of another person or the presence of another person's soul around you. Does that make sense?
No, that totally makes sense.
Okay.
I'm getting like a little education here. I'm kind of liking this, John.
Well, that's kind of what my book is about, because I want people to remove some of the fear, and I want people to start to understand what's happening to them when they are sensing someone's presence around them that may be in spirit. And if you're doing readings and you're picking up someone's husband, or you're picking up someone's another person's energy, I can tell most of the time, and I say that most of the time because you just never want to use absolutes when you're talking about psychic work. You can't say you're always going to be 100% correct. You can't use absolutes. But generally, I can tell if someone is in spirit or not, or their energy is present, is in the living. And I'm sure that if you test yourself, you can see that when you're giving a reading for someone, you can say that they're in a current relationship, or they're at odds with someone in the living, or you can tell when they are in grief. Mm-hmm. You see. So it's a matter of it being the right time to start having an intelligent discussion about these matters, because we are, as we move forward in life, we can no longer be bound by superstition. We can't be bound by fear. We can't be bound by things that have been held for centuries, but we just have a feeling aren't correct. You see, not with society moving as fast as it's moving. We've got to talk about it.
Well, and I think that there is so much stuff, and I hate to say on TV, but on TV that is making it be a little less scary for people, and kind of putting it in their subconscious or their conscious, so they're asking questions, and it's raising their internal awareness. And once your internal awareness becomes sensitized, that's when the magic happens. That's when you start noticing what you're feeling or what you're perceiving on a lot of different levels.
That's right. Well, I tell people, too, that it's all about their soul's energy and recognizing their personal space and recognizing the different layers of their soul, because, it's like what we said earlier, the soul doesn't have the same boundaries that we have as physical beings. So when you're trying to do a reading for someone, even remotely, you can send out your soul's energy to touch their soul's energy and read them. You see. So, and part of it involves your personal space. Your personal space is the innermost layer of your soul, or your closest layer to your skin. So if you've ever had somebody that has that's gotten too close to you, and you said, wait a minute, don't get that close, then they're invading your personal space. Well, that's your psychic energy. That's your soul's energy right there, saying, wait a minute, that's just too much energy, and it doesn't feel comfortable. Now, if they're invited into your personal space, then that's a different story. But we all have a personal space, and if you want to read another person, what you do is you kind of push out that personal space to kind of envelop their energy, and then that's how you read them, from my perspective. So
I don't do that unless I'm doing health stuff. No, I look at it. They're over there. I like being on my side of the room.
Yeah.
Until I'm working on their health, and then I kind of climb inside their body.
Well, you see, there are, and from my perspective, there are different types of psychic energy. There's receiving energy and there's sending energy. You use both. When you are doing your medical work, and of course I don't want to put words in your mouth, and you're helping people heal, you're sending them energy. I would assume, and so that's a different type of psychic ability to send healing energy. But when you're reading someone, and you don't, I don't think we recognize sending out our personal space, but it's the best explanation I can give you, because we're enveloping the energy around another person, and you can read them. So by giving that type of explanation, it gives a methodology for people to understand how you can read other people. And by saying that you have different layers of your soul's energy that can read people, even in remote locations, it makes the soul an incredibly powerful force and energy that we can use to better our lives. So
we only have a couple of minutes left.
Okay.
So why don't you share, because I know you have like a web page and stuff, so why don't you share that kind of information with the listeners? Okay.
They can find me at johncappello.com. It's CAPP, as in Paul, ELLO. And they can reach me if they'd like a private reading at 888-440-7130. So once again, it's 888-440-7130.
And if they're in the Dallas area and they want to find out about your meetup group and the classes that you offer, is that all on your webpage also?
Yes, I got to update it. I got some new stuff coming up. But yes, I've got a workshop coming next Thursday at Miracles of Joy, by the way. And it is about dreams, and it's about how to analyze your own dreams and to notice what kind of dream you're having. So, and incorporating that with using your psychic abilities. So, it's interesting work, and it's something I'm pleased to present. So,
see, I didn't know that you were into the whole dream thing. No, thank you, John, for being my savior today.
Oh, you're welcome anytime, and I have to have you on my program sometime soon.
Announce that, because you're a blog talk person also, correct?
That's correct. Yes, on my program.
It's
on Wednesdays at 12 noon, and it's at blogtalkradio.com/John Cappello, and that's my topic this month is about dreams. So please join me then.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Thank you. And
you're welcome.
I will talk to you soon. We're way behind anyway. Okay?
Okay. All right.
All right.
Take
Thanks,
care.
John.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, there's the music, and I'm going to go ahead, and we'll get Anthony Sanchez on the line, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.